Hello and welcome to Simple Country Place. I have 4 delicious meal ideas for you today. Thank you so much for clicking on this video and watching. Please subscribe, welcome, and enjoy. The first meal I'm making is what they call Firecracker meatballs. I did see this recipe somewhere. I don't remember where, either on Instagram Reels, Pinterest, TikTok, something like that. It's loosely based on that. I don't really follow recipes that closely. I just kind of look at the ingredients. Oh yeah, I could probably do that. So I'm getting the sauce prepared here, and you're gonna use your favorite hot sauce, buffalo sauce, whatever you got, brown sugar, salt, apple cider vinegar, and crushed red pepper, and get that going on the stove. Let it simmer for a while. So that was the first thing I did. So as I'm preparing the actual meatballs, that's just sitting back there, chilling, simmering, thickening up, and letting the flavors come together. For the meatballs, I have 2 eggs there that I'm scrambling up, and then I will be adding ground chicken, garlic powder, paprika, minced onion or onion powder, whatever you have, salt and pepper, and panko breadcrumbs, and then mixing that all together. I was a little bit weirded out. I don't know, ground chicken as like a texture kind of grosses me out, so I used a spatula to mix it for the most part, but then of course I had to just man up and get my hands dirty and form the meatballs, and I used my hands, but I don't know. Comment if it bothers you, but to me it was, I don't like the texture of ground chicken touching it. It's just gross to me, but I did it. So as you can see, I have the meatballs ready there, and then I'm going to be pouring or spooning the sauce over some of them. I didn't do all of them just because that's a lot for my husband and my nephew, and so I ended up freezing some of them, and I knew that my nephew probably wouldn't like these, so I spooned the sauce over some of them. You're gonna bake these until the meatballs are done. I did flip them over halfway-ish through, put some more sauce on the ones that have sauce, and then continue baking them. My husband really enjoyed these. The nephew did try one, and it was super funny. He was like, "What are these, spice balls?" So he ended up having some of the plain ones with barbecue sauce, but he did say the flavor was okay, just too spicy for him. So this day I'm making summer sausage sliders, and I have those King's Hawaiian sweet rolls. Those are the bomb. If you haven't had them, you should definitely try them. And I'm going to be putting summer sausage on that. I cut it as thin as I could get it, but it's still relatively thick. And I'm going to layer that and then put slices of Kobe Jack cheese or whatever cheese you have. That's just what I had on hand. Sliders or like sandwich type situations are always a hit at my house, and like I get sick of making the same type of thing over and over, so I'm like, oh, I can make sliders of summer sausage, because I usually buy summer sausage, the big log at Costco, cut it up and freeze it in chunks. So I had some on hand, and I was like, why not try it? So for like the topping, I have melted butter and adding garlic powder, minced onion, and then Italian seasoning, and then brushing that over the top and covering it, and then throwing it in the oven for the the cheese to melt and like the buns to get like crusty, or not crusty, but crispier, and the flavors to all come together. And I just served that with some air fried seasoned potatoes and a side salad, which is not pictured, but on this day I made a chicken rice fajita situation. I don't know. I just kind of winged it because I didn't have anything planned. So I'd gotten like rotisserie frozen chicken tenders from Costco. They were on sale. So that's what I'm cutting up here. And I'm going to be putting those, they were kind of like, I like cooked them enough in that pan to like get a knife through them, but they were still partially frozen. So I'm going to be putting those back in after they're cut up with that diced onion and the bell peppers, and cooking that together in a little bit of olive oil. For the seasoning, I have cumin, and I'm adding garlic powder, chili powder, paprika, and salt and pepper. You could just use like a fajita packet. I just don't keep those on hand because you can easily make it yourself. I mean, I could probably easily make taco seasoning myself too, but the amount of taco stuff we eat, I just usually buy the big jug from Costco. But yeah, that is what I'm making, the fajita seasoning mix here. So once the chicken and the onion and pepper had cooked down a little bit, I did steam some cauliflower rice. If you know, you know. We don't. Well, I like rice, but my husband does not. So he likes cauliflower rice. It's healthier for him anyway. So that's what I use. So I steamed some cauliflower rice, throw that in there, added a can of diced tomatoes with green chilies that was drained. And then I'm going to put the seasoning mixture on that and mix it all together. And then I will be topping this with cheese, which I don't think I filmed, but topping it with cheese. And then I put it in the oven for the cheese to melt, the flavors to come together with the seasonings. And this is like a nice little one pot, or one pan, I guess. That's a pan, but meal. And I was just, making it up as I go along. Our friend was coming over and he called and he was like, "What are you making for dinner?" And I was like, I don't know. You'll find out when you get here. So once that, obviously the cheese is melted, I'm adding lettuce and tomato. I only put tomato on half, even though there's tomatoes in it, but the friend doesn't like tomatoes, so I was trying to be nice and only put tomato on half, and then taco sauce and on top of everything. And everyone really liked this. I mean, they said it tasted like chicken fajitas, but in a different form. And yeah, we certainly like Tex-Mex food. And it wasn't too spicy for my nephew. He really liked it. He had, I think, 3 helpings. The last meal I'm making here is like a Big Mac casserole situation. So for the sauce, I have those dill pickles that I just cut up, adding mayo and ketchup and some pickle juice. And then I ended up adding more mayo because I felt like it was too thin. Like I wanted it thin enough to like drizzle, but I don't know, it just seemed a little too thin. So added more mayo, and then I just set that aside for later use. For the bottom of the casserole, I have a greased dish there, and I'm putting in like crescent roll dough, like the tube, and then just pinching the seams together so it like makes a little crust. And then I'm going to put that in the oven to bake for a little bit so it's not like completely raw when I build the rest of the casserole. For the meat mixture, ground beef that I am browning, and then adding diced onion, and then for seasoning, salt and pepper and garlic powder, and letting that cook like most of the way, and then I'll be adding more stuff to it. So cooked most of the way, not all the way browned, but most of the way. And then I'm going to add Worcestershire sauce. I know everyone pronounces that differently, and I'm sure I'm wrong, but I'm adding that, and then just plain Jane yellow mustard, mixing that all together and letting it cook the rest of the way. And when it's finished cooking, I did drain the grease just like with a paper towel in there, because I think the meat was like 80-20, so I wanted to get some of that grease out of there before putting it in the casserole. So that crust is pretty much, baked, and then I'm adding the meat mixture and some of that sauce, not all of it, but some of it, a nice little like drizzle. And then I'm adding shredded cheese, whatever you had. I think I added like Colby Jack maybe, or cheddar, I'm not sure, but added some shredded cheese, and then put that in the oven for the cheese to melt, the like sauce to incorporate, and the bottom to finish cooking, the crust. So when that's all done, I will be adding again, topping it with lettuce, tomato, and then diced onion this time, and then the rest of the sauce. And I served that with some fried potatoes. Again, we're from the Midwest, so we're very much meat and potato people. And I wanted it to be like, oh, your Big Mac casserole with some fry type things. But my husband and the nephew said that it was really good. They said it like resembled obviously the taste of a Big Mac. Obviously, McDonald's Big Mac is significantly different, but the flavors were there, and they wanted me. I always ask, can I make this again? And they're like, yes, absolutely. So thank you so much for watching. Please come back for future videos and subscribe.